Welcome to AlexS Smartphone Tutorials. Today I'm showing you how to change the whole back cover housing from an iPhone 6s. The first step is to remove the both pentalobe screws on the bottom of your iPhone 6s. And now we need to heat up the display glass because Apple decided to use a double-sided glue under the display or between the display and the housing. So we need to heat it up to remove the display from the back cover. Now you can use a small metal tool to come between the display and the housing. Normally you should use a plastic tool, but this housing is already damaged, so you can use a small metal tool. It's much easier. Keep in mind to heat up the display all the time. Here's the display also broken, but if your display is fine and you only have scratches in your housing, you should be very careful when removing the display. You see I'm using the fingernails on the side to remove the glue. You can also use a plastic tool or the metal tool. So now you can feel that the display is coming up a little bit. You see the glue now inside, and you can lift the display now and remove the double-sided band. So now we need to remove 4 screws so we can release the display from the logic board. Remember to sort your screws. The best way is to put it on the table in that position where you screw it out. The last screw is a larger screw. And it's very important to put the screw at the same position back where you released it. So now you have to remove the metal plate over the flex cable and then release the 3 flex cable from the logic board. You also should be very careful here so you don't damage the connector or the flex cable. So now you can remove the display, and we start to disconnect the battery, the power from the iPhone 6s. You need to remove 2 screws, one shorter and one longer screw. And after that you can remove the metal plate. And now you have 2 flex cables here. One is from the Akku and one is from the lightning dock. Both need to be removed. The first step is to remove the battery. And now you can remove the flex cable from the lightning dock connector. The cable is a little bit glued on the speaker. Just carefully remove it. Now we are removing the Taptic engine. These just have 2 screws. After you remove the screws, you can remove the Taptic engine. So now we are removing the battery. You see we have here two sticky bands. They first need to be removed from the battery, and then you can pull it out to the back. Just carefully pull it. The first one and now the second one. After you remove these glues, the battery comes out by himself. So now you can remove the battery just easily. So now we got a little flex cable from the lightning dock connector, an antenna flex cable. These need to be removed from the logic board. And now we are releasing the flex cable from the power button and the volume button. So first remove two screws from the metal plate. Then you can lift up the metal plate and remove it. So now the next three screws. I don't know what this is. Maybe someone from you knows it. I think it's some kind of antenna or whatever. The iPhone 6s have two screws on the top now. You need to remove them first before you can release this plastic stuff there. So now you can remove it. Then we got another screw. Now we are disconnecting the rear camera. There are two screws and one flex cable. Just keep in mind, be carefully when removing a flex cable. Now you can take it out, the rear cam. So we got another screw on the top. Connected to a kind of ground cable. We have another grounding tool or antenna connector tool, I don't know what it is, with two screws, one on the housing and one on the logic board. Just keep in mind, put all parts together from this. So now we got another antenna cable. And a flex cable. one screw on the logic board. And here a special screw. This one is new. The first time I saw it in an iPhone. So now you can remove the lightning dock screws. Here you should also be very careful. Apple hide a screw. I'll show you later then which I mean. But first you need to remove all other screws. Here we got a little plastic tool who is pushing the microphone to the housing. And the last two screws from the headphone. So now here is the hidden screw. You need to remove the protective shield to come to the screw. So now you can remove the speaker. You see the cable is running from the speaker along the logic board to the top. So now you can remove the logic board together with the speaker. I'm heating up the bottom side of the iPhone 6s to remove the lightning dock connector. If you don't heat it, maybe you will damage the connector. And now carefully remove the lightning dock flex cable with a plastic tool. If you're using a metal tool like I did it at this moment, then just be very careful that you don't damage the flex cable. You see, it's very hard to remove, so you really should heat up the housing. Don't forget to disconnect the microphone. We have two microphones here now. And now you can slowly try to pull the lightning dock connector out of the housing. And as I told, you have to be really carefully so you are not damaging the flex cable from the dock connector. I always using the plastic spudger to come under the flex cable, so it's much easier to remove it. When you pull out the flex cable from the lightning dock, just be careful if the little microphone sticks on the housing, then sometimes you can damage it. So now the housing is nearly empty. Now I'm removing the mesh, I think is the name for it, from the speaker. After that we remove that, you can put it to the new housing. Now we are removing the lightning dock holder. And put it into the new housing. And also the anti-dust mesh from the microphone. So I speed it up a little bit because you don't need to see how long I take to get the anti-dust mesh out of the housing. So you see it's a very tiny work. So and now we need to remove the display holder the metal stuff who holds the display on place. We've got here 4 screws. You see that the video is nearly real time, so you can run the video and do it parallel. And normally in about 1 hour you should change the complete housing from your iPhone 6s. So now we got 2 screws on the other side and one of these metal things to hold the display in place. Just take care to put this metal display holder in the right direction to the new housing. So here we got some kind of isolation. I don't know for what it's for, but I'm always trying to put all the stuff from the old housing into the new housing. So now we're coming to the top. Here we need to remove the holder for the flashlight. It's just 1 screw. Now we are removing the 2 screws from the power button. And on the other side, where the volume button and the mute button is, there are 3 screws. Just always remember to sort the screws. Some of them are longer than the other. When you remove the flex cable from the housing, just be careful. Otherwise you need a new flex cable. I'm always using the plastic tool, the plastic spatcher, to remove the cables. on the flashlight where the rear microphone is connected, you need to be very careful, because there's just a small cable between the flashlight and the rear microphone. You can see it now. I'm removing it. Also, you should change the anti-dust mesh for the rear microphone. Another small isolation we need to change or bring to the new housing. Next one on the top. So now our housing is nearly empty. You can change the original buttons if they are still okay. That's what I'm doing here. If the buttons are scratched, then you need to change two things on the button. This small little plate in the middle of the button, and this silver metal who goes around the button. I'm sorry about my English. I don't know the words for it. But the easiest way is to change the whole button. So now the old housing is empty, and we are starting to rebuilding the iPhone 6s. First you need to put in the flex cable from the power button, the volume button and the mute button, and the rear microphone and the flashlight. Here we have 3 screws. You always should test the button if they are working. Now we are putting in the 2 screws from the power button. Now the flashlight and the rear microphone. And now we are fixing, I don't know if that's the word for, with the metal plate, the flashlight and the microphone. On the left side, the small metal plate is clicked into the housing, and on the right side we use the small screw. So now we are bringing back the lightning dock, headphone jack and the two microphones. And now we can fix the headphone jack. Now we are bringing back the speaker and the logic board. Here you can see the antenna cable comes in a little nose from the display holder. Just take care of the second antenna cable that it is not under the logic board. Also the flex cable from the buttons. Here you can see the side antenna cable comes up again, so I try to bring it back down. So now we can put back the screws. And again the cable comes up. So now I think it stays on place. So you can now put in all the screws from the lightning dock connector and the speaker. And don't forget the holder for the microphone. Now we need to connect the VLAN cable, the wireless LAN cable, and the flex cable from the dock connector. And you can fix the logic board then with the screw near the SIM connector, and on the top with this 6 corner screw. Connect the power button and volume button flex cable. So the small antenna cable on the side also need to be connected. If you disconnected it, now we need the connector to the housing, a small screw to the housing. And the bigger screw to the logic board. Now we are connecting the some kind of mesh connector from the logic board to the housing. Now you can put back the rear camera. With the holder on it already. And connect the flex cable to the logic board. So now you see the golden hole where the connector comes on it. There we need to put in 1 screw, and then we put in the, I think it was a Bluetooth module, WLAN module, I don't know it. But now this one is connected with 2 screws to the housing and 3 to the logic board. Now the metal plate for the flex cable from the power button with 2 screws. Now the Taptic engine. Also with 2 screws. So now we are using the holder for the double-sided holder for the battery. You see I put it in the wrong position, so I couldn't change it anymore, because if I remove it, it's gonna be destroyed. So I just let it in the position and put the battery in. And normally you're using you are removing from the tape the black stuff to glue it on the battery also, but it's too deep now to do it for me. So now you need to connect the metal plate for the battery and fix it with 2 screws, and then we need to bring back the display with the 3 flex cable. Just be careful that the flex cable are all on the correct position and clicked in perfectly. And now we can put back the metal plate and fix it with 4 screws. Just remember, now this is the position for the long screw, and I hope you sort your screws perfect so you can bring it back without changing the original position. Now we can close the display. Here I use the refurbished display. You see sometimes the new or cheap housing are not the best what the positioning are. That's why I'm here fighting a little bit. Maybe also the frame was a little bit curved from the display, so I tried to put it in the best position. So now it fits on the first side and then on the other side. Normally it makes sense if you use also a double-sided tape to glue the display back on the housing, but I don't have any one of these, so I just use nothing. Okay, we are really finished, nearly finished now. Just put back the 2 screws on the bottom, and then you can switch on your phone and test if everything is working. Here it looks good. So I say thank you for watching the video, and I hope I could help you to change your back housing. Here, although important, you need to set the time and the date, otherwise your SIM card will not working correctly. Just use VLAN to connect, and then normally the time and date should come automatically. then restart your phone, and time and date and SIM is working perfect. Otherwise, you've got here the searching function on the upper left side. So time and date are now set. Just make a reboot, and then everything should be fine. So thank you for watching the video, and see you next time.